Why we face a partial shutdown, no leadership in government. That's the truth I dispense in today's preamble. In my political lifetime, there have been only really two effective, transformational, and competent leaders as House Speakers, third in line to the presidency. They are Newt Gingrich and Nancy Pelosi. Gingrich took the Reagan vision and turned it into a movement, both politically and in regards to public policy, that restored a government of, by, and for the people. Pelosi was equally effective, but she wielded power to weaken America, shut out our people, enrich her political cronies, and unleash an administrative state that would make Stalin jealous. She did immense damage with the same margin of majority that Speakers McCarthy and Johnson have. The difference is she, along with Newt Gingrich, was a leader. The only reason why America faces a partial government shutdown is because for the 27th straight year, Congress, regardless of which party is in charge, didn't do its work. By law, Congress is required to pass a budget and have it done before the end of June, before the summer recess. 12 appropriation bills should be sent to the Senate at that time. The process is supposed to be open with debate, so all 435 alleged representatives can read the bills and provide input on behalf of their constituents. But that's not what's been happening. For the last 27 years, your reps, and by extension you, have been shut out of the budget process. Instead, so-called leaders of the America Last Uniparty, or more accurately, their staff and lobbyists, ignore the budget deadline and push it to the end of the year. There are several reasons they do this, which I will outline here in a moment. These lobbyist leaders cram this fake budget full of cronyism goodies and for elitists and their donors. And as with the last omnibus, they include protections against prosecution for illegal activity undertaken by members of Congress. They pad their pockets with raises and getting themselves out from under socialist medicine that they imposed on the rest of us, Obamacare. And then they wait. They wait until the very last minute, days before Christmas, when members want to get home to their families, when the American people tune out, and days before a government shutdown. Then they drop these huge spending bills on your unsuspecting members. Those members are told, vote for it. On the Democrat side, most don't even read it. On the GOP side, many don't have the time to read it. And whether they call it a CR or an omnibus, this crooked, corrupt, anti-American way of funding government has led to $36 trillion in debt and counting. Why? Because all of the safeguards against this corruption have been removed, except the debt ceiling. This process ensures no debate in the light of day. There is no mechanism to protect the taxpayers of our country or our children and great-grandchildren as feckless and irresponsible apparatchiks spend future generations' money so that these Washington fat cats can live high on the hog today, knowing they'll be long dead when it comes time for our kids and grandkids to pay the piper. It's sick, really. One of the architects of this bastardization of the budget process is Mitch McConnell. He and his small cabal of America Last Republicans are beside themselves that guys like me, and to a much larger degree, Elon Musk, are opening the sausage factory to let the American people know just how much they are being screwed, so that elites never have to lift a finger and work. As you know, I have been articulating the new political divide in our country, America First versus America Last. It was the America Last crowd that made sure that Ukraine and Africa and other nations received billions of our tax dollars throughout the year. But even though our farmers have been suffering for nearly 3 years, even though our fellow Americans have been suffering for months due to storms, your Congress just couldn't seem to find the time to help them out until December 18th, 2024. And to get that help, alleged Republican leaders said that all of you Americans had to accept all of the corrupt, expensive, and unethical garbage the Democrats wanted to pile onto us. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of certain Republicans telling me that I have to indulge the Democrats' anti-Americanism, so then and only then the Democrats will allow my alleged representatives to fund the basic and legitimate constitutional functions of government. Conservatives say, let's ensure the safety, security, and prosperity of our people. And the leftists say, well, we'll let you do that if you pad our pockets, steal more individual rights and liberties from the people, and empower government with extra constitutional nonsense. It's a Faustian bargain I and millions of other Americans are no longer willing to make. And this distresses guys like Glitch McConnell. In an interview with the Financial Times, one of the architects of this government's dysfunction, Mr. McConnell said this about the majority of Americans who are America First. Quote, We're in a very, very dangerous world right now, reminiscent of before World War II. Even the slogan is the same, America first. That was what they said in the 30s, end quote. Let me be plain. I'm 99.9% sure that the builders of the Third Reich were not uttering the slogan, America first. Secondly, classifying American citizens who prioritize their own families, their own communities, their own towns, and their own country ahead of foreign nations as being the equivalent to Nazis, it has been done, Mitch McConnell. It's a specious lie. And it shows how desperate your folks in the America Last coalition are to keep the good times rolling off of the American people's backs. And it's a bit rich to be lectured about being America first from a guy who's been communist China first for decades. As I've said, don't tell me, show me. In trying to sell the corrupt 1,547-page piece of garbage Cromnibus bill, Speaker Johnson said this.
This was the conservative play call. We don't normally like what's called a continuing resolution, a CR, but in this case it makes sense because if we push it into the first quarter of next year, then we have a Republican-controlled Congress and President Donald J. Trump back in the White House will be able to have more say over the funding decisions for 2025.
In other words, the Republicans will fight tomorrow, folks. How many times have we in the conservative movement been told, hey, just stay with the Republicans. We're going to give the Democrats everything they want today, but we're going to fight tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. It's not Elon Musk's fault or Donald Trump's fault that we face a partial government shutdown. The fault rests solely with the America Last Uniparty that thought they could ignore the message of the last election and continue the unsustainable business as usual in Washington, D.C. In the coming hours and days, you will hear America Last Republicans and Democrats moaning about how Elon and Trump and others wouldn't allow them to pass their trashy Cromnibus bill in secret. And some on the GOP side are more than a little miffed that two guys who are not even in office yet are doing a better job of protecting our people from leftist Democrats than these certain Republicans are. And one last cautionary tale. Congress has been failing us on many issues, not just the budget and the debt, yet the incumbency rate hovers around 94%. The definition of insanity, my friends, is doing the same thing over and over and again and expecting a different result. The days of Americans tuning out of their government, the days of trust me government, should be over, if for no other reason, after what we just witnessed they will do when left to their own devices. You know, folks, I thank God for my wonderful wife, my kids, my country, the greatest nation ever. And Americans like you who believe in the truth, the Chris Salcedo Show will never stop fighting for you.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.